Okay. Well, well. Let's talk about this one. Um, where do we start? Where do we start talking about this one? Because this was a bad loss. It's just one that's going to leave a bad taste in my mouth, sure. But also just because, like, this is the Pacers, man. And it's a game that the Knicks needed to win. Um, it's a team that's obviously it's a team that has given you problems in some pretty big games in the past, and you thought that the Knicks, because of that, because of who it is, because of the history between these two sides, would have come out the gate with a little bit more. I'm trying to find the right word here. I really don't want to use the wrong word. A little bit more like will to win this game. You know, I didn't feel like they took it very serious from the get go. Um, you were without OG. You're obviously without Deuce and Mitch. And so, I don't know, maybe play with his chip on your shoulder. Try to beat the team that's bitched you around the last couple of postseasons. And like the way the Knicks came into this game with the energy, it just felt like defensively it was very telling. Like, okay, we're playing a 13 win team, whatever the hell they are. All-Star break is coming up this week. Let's just cruise through this because it should be an easy win. And at the top of the telecast, Clyde and Bream we're saying this is a trap game. As cliche as that sounds, like, yeah, and you lose the game. And so now you got to play the second of a back-to-back in Philly tonight after a 53-minute grind where you lose in overtime 137 to 134. And then you go to All-Star break, but then the first game back from break, the gauntlet continues. You've got Detroit, you've got Houston, and it's just, I can't stomach losing to that team. I hate that team. I hate every player on that roster. Obviously, I hate the guy who's sitting on the sideline right now the most. I hate that city. And the good thing is I always look back and I'm like, you know what? Their biggest wins are against the Knicks. They don't win. The team hasn't won a finals in Lord knows how long. So that's what I always can go back to and be happy about is you've won as much as we have. But I do hate losing to them. I can't stomach it. And in fact, it was such a tough watch for me. I turned the game off after Cat fouls out in the overtime period there, and then I and then I checked my phone, and all of a sudden it's a friggin' what was it, like a 1 or 2 point game with a few seconds left. I'm like, what the hell happened? So I missed whatever the hell happened down the stretch there. Not gonna lie to you, but the game was over and the Knicks lost despite the fake comeback. And so we're going to talk about some of the tough stuff. It is an audio-only episode since the second of the back-to-back does begin later tonight. This will be a shorter one. But before we even begin to pick apart the issues, and we're just going to focus on some of the issues from this game because there was a lot to like, believe it or not. We'll quickly shout out some of the good things. Shout out to Karl Anthony Towns for making 2 big free throws down the stretch. I don't want that to be forgotten. I could barely watch, but I did, and both of them dropped easily. So shout out to him for making the 2 big free throws, although telling you these offensive fouls on his drives and the fouling overall is going to come back to bite the Knicks. You just know that. Shout out to Jalen Brunson before we rip him. 40 points. You can't hate on that. He had himself a really good scoring game. Also grabbed 5 rebounds and dished out 8 times. Shout out to Mikal Bridges. I feel like Mikal often gets overlooked, and often it's because he's been a bit underwhelming as a Knick. 22 points in the game from Mikal, shot 9 for 15. Some big mid-range shots that he got to drop in the fourth quarter. Obviously, those 2 free throws were huge. Shout out to him. So yeah, there was some good in a game that was a bad loss. I thought, man, this defense, it's funny because, like, as good as the Knicks defense has been lately, and it's been good, it was just pure sewer trash last night. And obviously, you're missing, again, your best defensive players. You're missing Mitch. You're missing OG. You're missing Deuce McBride, obviously. But Indiana is the 30th ranked offense, I think. And you look at that roster, and even despite not having Halliburton, Siakam is still a tough matchup for them. You know, you had some size issues. 30 points for him last night, and their role players, every time they come to MSG, unfortunately turn into star players. And whenever the Knicks play the Pacers, man, it's always the same one defensive issue that we talk about is they get put in a blender. Multiple ball screens. They put the Knicks in action. They know how to run Cat and Brunson and put them in action a lot. The Knicks just get torched on their ball screens. And so when you look overall, they gave up 137 points. They score 52, or they shoot 52% overall. 18 for 45, 40% on three. But they were 11 out of 25 from three, 45% in the first half. 8 of their 10 rotation players score in double figures. You had that random Quentin Jackson score 19 points. Nembhard, McConnell had their moments. But you go back to that 11 out of 25 from three in the first half alone. That's where I focus on. Because this Knicks defense has, again, been on an uptick of recently. And a lot of that has been because they're icing a lot more pick and rolls, right? Their ice coverages on pick and roll, it's been effective lately. It's been really good and in preventing the action from getting to the middle of the paint. And it's helped them. But, no coverage is perfect. And the drawback of when you blew a pick and roll or ice a pick and roll, whatever you want to call it, downing a pick and roll, the drawback to that is when the big pops, you have got to rotate off the initial coverage. And last night, when Indiana was popping their big, the Knicks weren't rotating off the ice coverage. And that was conceding way too many open three-point looks. They were making the Knicks pay for it last night, especially in that first half. And there are multiple three-point makes that I'm going to show here on the screen. If you're watching YouTube or if you're watching the video on Spotify, check out the video on the screen here because I want to go over 4 different possessions in that first half where the Knicks got burnt by icing the pick and roll and not rotating quick enough after it. See if I can pull up the first one here. So this one here on the screen, I think this is, who is this? This is Nembhard with the ball here. He's coming up the floor. Siakam's going to screen off Shamet, but you can see the Knicks, Cats and drop on the right side of the pick and roll from his viewpoint. Shamet's going to try to ice him. Both of them are icing Nembhard to the side here. But Siakam pops. And so off this, you need Hart to rotate over as the next man, one pass away. Doesn't get up quick enough. Pascal's going to knock down the three. So this was the first of, I hate that guy. This was the first of many ice coverages in that first half getting burnt off pick and pops. You go to the next one here, just 2 minutes later. This time it is Nembhard again. It's a side pick and roll here, him and Huff. McHale is going to try to, along with, I think that's Huck Porty, ice him to the side. They put 2 on him. That's going to leave Huff open on the pop. knocks it down. McHale can't get back quick enough. The third time down here, this one was frustrating because the Knicks, again, you could see Alvarado facing the sideline, so he's icing the pick and roll. Cat, again, on the left side in drop here. So they're going to try to ice McConnell over. But again, I think this is Potter. He's going to pop off the pick and roll. The Knicks don't get back quick enough. Shamit's got to worry about the one pass away, and then Cat doesn't get up quick enough. So beat again. And then here, I don't know if this is technically an ice coverage, but I don't have the clip at the very top of the action. But here, the Knicks, again, you have Shamit and it looks like Brunson over there trying to ice him out to the side, but they bring a third, looks like a Spain or some kind of stack with Potter setting the back screen there. But they pop here. The guard pops to the top. It's one pass away, swing to the weak wing, and you get Naismith knocking it down. So the Knicks just being put into rotation, trying to cover these pick and rolls and just blew it to the side. But it was a problem. And every time they play this team puts the Knicks in action. They know how to do that. So it put them behind the 8 ball from the very get-go. And they were also just giving up a lot of threes, helping off the three-point line. Like whether it was cheating off the weak side, getting a foot into the paint, which left the weak side pass open and they were late to close out, or if it was just helping in the lane to stop penetration because the Knicks up top at the point of attack were good enough to keep the guard out of the paint. They had to help a lot. Sometimes it was kind of senseless help, and they were beyond that pass to the three-point shooter. You saw Jose Alvarado debut in the Garden last night, his Garden debut. Not good. Offensively, whatever, that's going to be fixed. But you saw some of the stuff that can't be fixed. The size issues that we brought up. We brought him up for 2 episodes in a row now since he's been here. That is one thing you are concerned about. Getting another small guard in here. When you have a small out there and you're playing a team that's got some pretty big-sized wings, those size issues are going to be noticeable. When he switches on to some of these wings, Nembhard gave him problems a few times. And just usually he's pretty good at getting over the top of ball screens, but I thought he was pretty slow at the point of attack. I thought Huff, who was one of their bigs, Huff was screening him off a lot there in the fourth quarter, just putting him behind, chasing at the hips, and just not recovering quick enough. So that hurt the Knicks. And yeah, their defense was just not good overall. And then we'll talk a little bit about Brunson here when we return from break, because obviously he had himself a game, but he had some bad moments too. Stay with us. Be back in a sec.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod, and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops. Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Episode 995 of the podcast, or 996, I believe. It says 995 on the screen. I got to fix that. 996 of the show. The Knicks lose 137 to 134 in overtime. Yeah, so we discussed the defense and the offense. Again, despite the 134, there was some really bad offense down the stretch. Again, Jalen Brunson, he got buckets for a good portion of the night, and it was efficiently for a good portion of the night. Finishes with 40 points. But I think down the stretch, you saw that he made this game a little bit too personal with some of these matchups. Nembhard, Naismith, and McConnell. Obviously, him and TJ are buddies, and they've had their battles over the years, but Jalen just making this too personal, I think, really hurt the Knicks because it took them out of their offense, especially those Naismith and Nembhard matchups. I just like there was way too much freelance ISO and not enough organized ISO or organized offense. Now, you got to give Indiana some credit because a lot of defenses will just they're going to blitz those Brunson pick and rolls or hedge and recover on those Brunson pick and rolls down the stretch. And the Knicks are really good at beating those hedges and beating those blitzes because they can hit the pop or they'll hit the short roll, right? And then put the defense in rotation. But last night, Indiana played it straight up. And Brunson went away from those Karl Anthony Towns ball screens a little bit too often late. And I'm usually fine with Brunson isolations late because he is one of the best scorers in the NBA. And he usually succeeds in those possessions. And this is how NBA offense works late in games. All good offenses do this. They go to their superstar because superstars turn out to be pretty good. So I think the reactions to this, a lot of it is just garbage. People just talking because it sounds correct. But again, he did make it way too personal with some of these matchups instead of trying to get the switch onto a slower big like Potter or like Huff. You know, I feel like the Knicks, they needed and they need to use Cat on the perimeter and in action a lot more instead of stashing him on the dunker down the stretch. He is one of the best shooting bigs ever, if not the best shooting big ever. You need to take advantage of that and have him in pick and pops. Put him in action with Brunson up top. He is going to get Brunson the more favorable switch. So use him so Brunson can get Potter off the pick or get Huff off the pick and then take them in isolation that way. Didn't get a ton of that. So I thought that was the problem. And listen, we talk about this often, the Brunson Towns dynamic and how, yes, lineups have a lot to do with it. You know, playing Josh Hart as the offensive five, like sharing him with Cat is a problem when they cross match. But you also have to look at Brunson and Towns as individuals too. Like they're taking part in that being an underwhelming duo. Offensively. Defensively too, but we're talking offense. Like a lot of the time, Cat will just roll into traffic or roll into nothing instead of popping. There was a possession I noticed with about 5.5 left in the second quarter. It's a Brunson Cat pick and roll. Cat has the open pop, but he rolls into nothing. And eventually it results, I think, even in like a Shamet 3. But point being, Cat's got to know on the pop. You got to stop rolling when you don't have the roll. There was traffic there. And then also when Hart is out there with the big on him, you know, using that pick and roll is going to take Cat away. It's not going to keep Cat in the action. That's the problem with, again, we go back to the lineups that Mike Brown throws out there. Playing Hart and Cat together so much ignores Cat because Hart's got the matchup you want. So you use him to screen. It ignores Cat. But Brunson also doesn't always hit Cat immediately, or sometimes he doesn't even hit him at all off the ball screen. And what that does, it does a bunch of things. It allows the defense to recover on his pops. It allows the defense to scram switch out of his post-ups if he's rolling into a post. It doesn't allow Cat to get downhill with momentum if Brunson takes too long to hit him. And part of the reason Cat's three-point volume is not nearly as high as it should be, this is a guy who takes 4 threes a game. That should be up near 8 and 9. Is because Brunson often misses those reads a lot. And I think it's always a good contrast when you watch Tyler Kolek play with Cat. Or, I know Kolek didn't play last night, but even Alvarado. If you watch Alvarado at the top of the second quarter last night, in those Alvarado Cat minutes when Brunson was sitting, he was hitting Cat off the ball screen. He did it at least 3 or 4 times, that counted. And then even when Cat went to the bench with foul trouble early in the fourth quarter, Alvarado hit Hukporti with a really nice pocket pass for a big basket out of the pick and roll and won. So those guys are always making sure they know their role. Your role is when you're in here, Brunson's not on the floor, Cat's on the floor with you, you hit Cat immediately off the ball screen so you can get him in those advantageous situations. So I didn't think it was a great Brunson game down the stretch. And so that's kind of why I'm not going to hand him the game ball. I think Hart was the best Knick overall among the starting lineup. He has 11 game balls on the season. 15 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. So he gets another triple-double. I think they said 17 in his career now, which is a lot. 2 steals, a block. He was 5 for 8 shooting. 2 for 3 from 3. 3 for 4 from the foul line. Was a plus 11, 41 minutes. Again, I liked Hart. Again, when he had the big on him early in the game, you could see the Knicks taking advantage of that. How do you prevent those cross matches? You don't let the defense set those cross matches up. So Hart was doing well, pushing the ball in the full court, not allowing this to become a half-court game early on. And that's how the Knicks got some of their offense early. So I thought Hart was the best of the starting unit. Just, again, maybe I'm being a little too unfair to Brunson. The guy had 40 points. And then you go to the second unit. I really didn't like the performances from anybody. But I think the least worst Knick from that second unit, maybe Hukporti, even though he didn't have himself a good game. He has 3 game balls now in the season. 7 points, 5 rebounds, an assist, a block, 3 for 4 shooting, 1-on-1 at the line. He had some good moments, but he had the defensive breakdowns that we're used to. Some of the pick and roll problems, but the positioning issues. And yeah, I don't know. Nobody really played well off the bench. So tough game, tough loss. But up next for the Knicks, you've got Philly tonight before the All-Star break. So they're going to be tired. It's the second of a back-to-back. They've got no excuse. But this is a team that's going to make them work for it. So be nice to head into the break with a win to salvage an otherwise underwhelming first half of the season for the Knicks. I feel like it's been more disappointing than anything. Maybe I'm wrong. I still believe the upside's there. The upside's always going to be there for this team to get it done, but I feel like the floor is pretty alarmingly low, too, at the same time. So with that said, let's wrap this shit up with our trivia question. And our trivia for tonight, or today, which former 1980s draft pick had 2 separate stints with both the Knicks and Pacers? Okay. Which former 1980s draft pick had 2 separate stints with both the Knicks and Pacers? So let me know the answer wherever you can reach me. That's it. Appreciate you all tuning in. Hopefully the Knicks can bounce back tonight. I'll see you later. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.